10 p.m. in Accra. It is 1 a.m. in Moscow, Russia, 6 a.m. in Beijing, China, and 5 p.m. in Florida, United States. My name is Bright Nanamfo. Thanks so much for joining us. This is News at 10. Let's start with some major news on this network. Beginning from here, maintenance work on the Tema Oil Refinery has been completed ahead of the scheduled commencement of crude oil refinery in the first quarter of 2018. Management says a positive attitude of employees is what will keep the company high as production starts. Management again cautioned employees against unnecessary politicization. The Ghana Police Service has begun piloting an e-policing service within the Accra and Tema policing regions to help improve efficiency and daily monitoring. The wholly homegrown technology was developed by VAS Intel Stratum and the University of Ghana in response to the police transformation agenda. Ex-President John Agyekum Kufuor has advised the youth to be patient as they await the good fortunes of the NPP government. He urged all Ghanaians to be tolerant and peaceful with one another. These were contained in his Christmas message to the country. And in some sports news, Turkish club Galatasaray have offered to employ their former player and Ivorian international Emmanuel Eboyi. The club is reported to have offered the player the role of an assistant coach for their under-14 side. The story of Eboyi's financial and family woes was headlines over the weekend after the UK Mirror reported that the clubless defender was on the brink of suicide after losing all his earnings in a bitter divorce case. And Israel has praised Guatemala's President Jimmy Morales for following the lead of U.S. President Donald Trump in announcing plans to move his country's embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The decision by Guatemala, one of the only 8 countries to vote last week with the U.S. in opposing a UN resolution condemning Trump's move to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital, is in stark contrast to the rest of the world, including all other 14 members of the UN Security Council. Thanks so much for your time. Wherever you're watching us, this is the Christmas edition of News at 10. Let's start from Liberia. Former President of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, is in Monrovia to observe the Liberian election runoff, which is set to take place on Boxing Day tomorrow. Mahama is the head of the ECOWAS Election Observer Team. John Mahama held separate meetings with the 2 candidates going into the runoff. Current Liberian Vice President Joseph Boakai of the Unity Party and former footballer George Weah of the Coalition for Democratic Change. In the meetings with the 2 gentlemen, John Mahama called for a peaceful vote. He also reminded Liberians of the sanctity of the polls and the stability of the country after the elections will depend on them and not ECOWAS, the observers, or the United Nations. Either George Weah or Joseph Boakai will succeed the outgoing President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, whose constitutional 2 terms in office ends in January. Now we're back home. The Ghana Police Service has begun piloting an e-policing service within the Accra and Tema policing regions to help improve efficiency and daily monitoring. A wholly homegrown technology was developed by VAS Intel, Stratum, and the University of Ghana in response to the police transformation agenda.
The Ghana Police Service, in its quest to become a world-class police organization, recognized ICT as the pivot around which all other reforms will revolve. Digitization and automating the entire workflow process of policing has therefore become paramount, hence the e-policing project. It includes automation of the point of lodging complaint at the charge office, referral of cases to investigators, building a docket, referral of cases for prosecution, automation of cell books, register of offences, station diary, and other related activities.
The system will facilitate supervision, personnel management, and other activities right from the station level to the regional headquarters, and also easy generation of crime statistics for effective analysis and interpretation.
The project, currently on pilot in 26 stations and districts within the Accra and Tema regions, became possible through implementing partners, VAS Intel, Stratum, and the University of Ghana.
9 months ago, we proposed developing a homegrown, tailor-made e-police solution in collaboration with the Ghana Police Service, in which we would digitalize all the paper forms and processes. We were enthused to find a synergy with the Ghana Police Agenda and the Transformation Initiative.
The device at the charge office, apart from the entries of complaint, also captures the fingerprints and photographs of suspects. The system also allows investigators to generate crime reports and related data, and every input data is accessible by the IGP and all relevant supervising officers.
As the police undergoes a revolution in its operations, it is the wish of the police administration that Ghana becomes more peaceful as we progress into the future. May we appease our partners who have invested so much in our capacity building by delivering better and improved services.
Another significant feature of the new system is that it has its own dedicated network system that is operational in every corner of the country. The system can also be customized to specification, including mail alerts and SMS alerts to users to prompt them when away from the police stations. The piloting will run alongside existing traditional methods until the old system is finally phased out. The e-policing is expected to be rolled out nationwide by 2020.
Stay with security. Some individuals have attacked the Member of Parliament for the Sunafo South constituency, Eric Opoku, on Monday morning, December 25. Kukum District Police Commander DSP Robert Kwesi Boache confirmed the news early on News 360.
The Honourable Member for Sunafo South, Mr. Eric Opoku, was attacked at his residence today around 11:30 a.m. Two cases and a saloon sibling at the end of his residence was vandalized. The front and rear windscreens and side glasses were smashed. After that, the thugs entered his residence and then tried to cause damage to his private vehicle, a Land Cruiser. They could not cause any extensive damage anyway, but they managed to smash the side driving mirror, the passenger side. They smashed that one and tried to cutlass the bonnet. In fact, because the body was very hard, they couldn't make any extensive cut into it. We have just started investigations into it. We are gathering information as to who were the people.
DSP Kwesi Boache of the Kukum Police there talking to Issa Money early on News 360. It's the time now to take a break. Stay with us. When we come back, the rest of the moment. Welcome back. There was a near standoff between the inspection team of the Ghana National Fire Service and managers of Venus Lounge and Bar Grill at Osu in the early hours of Monday during a swoop at the entertainment centers. An expatriate management member picked a quarrel with the task force when asked to produce his fire certificate. This is a report by Peter Kwao Adato.
The surprise inspection tour was smoothly taking place until the team got to the Venus Lounge Bar Grill near the Lebanese embassy. The team sighted only one fire extinguisher inside a huge entertainment center, and when asked to produce their fire certificate, the man nicknamed Ni took offense. He took the intervention of other management members to prevent heated argument. The first port of call was Sun City, where the team was conducted round to inspect modern firefighting gadgets and apparatus, including smoke detectors and fire hydrant. The team moved to Jokers, which had no emergency exit. The fire certificate on display had also expired, but management claims it had already been renewed. Next was the hot gossip and vanity clubs, all in Osu. Here, almost every firefighting gadget, apparatus and emergency exit appeared to be in place. From one end to the other, officials from the club led the task force to locate all the needed facilities. However, most of the centers had failed to display their fire certificates, even though they claimed they have them. The swoop was to identify fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, emergency exits, fire certificates, fire hydrants in some cases to ensure safety.
The Embassy of the State of Israel in Ghana has expressed regret over Ghana's vote at a special UN General Assembly meeting on Thursday. Ghana was among 128 nations that voted against the United States' decision to move its embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem at a sit-in. 9 countries, including Togo, voted in favor of a move, while 35 abstained. 21 nations were absent. A statement from the Israeli embassy on Friday described Ghana's vote as a mistake. It also described the whole process at the UN as farce and meaningless. It asked Ghana not to repeat such mistake in subsequent motions. Let's speak to the ranking member of Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee, a member of Parliament for the North Town constituency of the Volta region, Samuel Kudjatu Blackwell, just joining me on the phone lines. Good evening, sir. Grateful for your time. First of all, let's look at this one. Israel, the embassy in Accra or in Ghana, describing Ghana's decision as a mistake. Diplomatically, is that language good enough to use?
Well, thank you very much. Good evening to you. Merry Christmas to you, and Merry Christmas to the distinguished viewers of TV3. To answer your question directly, certainly that language is not diplomatic. It's offensive, and it's an affront to our sovereignty. It was a considered vote. I mean, our government clearly maintained a long-held position that has been the position of successive governments. If you look at the speeches of President Kufuor, President Rawlings, President Mills, President Mahama, and President Akufo-Addo to the United Nations General Assembly, and I'm only referring to presidents of the Fourth Republic, but even if you go back to the First Republic, our first president, we have always maintained a foreign policy of positive neutrality, where on the Middle East crisis, we have aligned with the majority of nations of this world who ascribe to the two-state solution, the two-state principle, that Palestine and Israel can coexist, and that the two nations should work out a negotiated way forward in terms of bringing lasting peace to the Middle East. And the vote by Ghana last week is only consistent with this long-held position. So for the Israeli embassy in Accra to describe the vote as a mistake, and even to proceed further and dare Ghana that you do not vote like that again, that the next time this matter comes up, you are cautioned not to vote like that again. I mean, I cannot but agree with everybody who feels affronted, who feels insulted by this statement coming from the Israeli embassy in Accra.
I see. Some have suggested that government take some action against the Israeli embassy. Is that what you would suggest to?
It is a position that we in the minority agree with. We believe that at the very least, our foreign minister, the Honorable Shirley Ayoko Boche, should be summoning the ambassador at the very least. He should be summoned to her office, and he should be told in very plain language that you don't come and talk down to us. If you look at the statement that they issued, they are stating that they are a sovereign country and no other country can determine for them, including the United Nations, no other international institution or any country can determine to them what should be their capital, what city should be their capital. And yet in the same breath, you want to determine dictate to another sovereign country how that country should vote at the United Nations. And then you call our careful, considered vote a mistake. I mean, that's clearly an insult. So at the very least, the ambassador must be summoned. He must be told how Ghanaians are affronted and how we take strong exception to that kind of statement. And he must be made to apologize for those statements. If he refuses, then the second level, which some Ghanaians have called for, a possible expulsion, can be considered. But at this time, the position of the minority is that the ambassador, at the very least, should be summoned by the foreign ministry, and he should be told in very, very clear language that you cannot assault our sovereignty, you cannot insult our country by issuing these kinds of statements. We are in good company of majority of nations. 128, an overwhelming majority of countries voted at the United Nations and said that the actions by President Trump would only derail the peace process. And it's very clear. You've noticed that since that pronouncement by President Trump, extremists have been energized, and fundamentalists have decided to now use all kinds of violent means. And you're seeing all the protests, the deaths. So far, at least 4 people have been killed in the Middle East because of that pronouncement. And this is not what we need. It just derails the peace process. It escalates tensions, and we cannot continue that like that. That is why, if you look at even allies of the United States, traditional allies like France, the United Kingdom, Germany, have all, distanced themselves from this particular Trump announcement. So you cannot be chastising Ghana for agreeing with the majority of nations, overwhelming majority of nations, calling our vote a mistake, and then threatening us that we shouldn't vote like that again in the future. You don't do that. You don't do that to another sovereign country.
I'm grateful for your time with us. He's a ranking member of Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee, a member of Parliament for the North Tongue constituency of the Volta region, a member of the NDC. Now, let's touch on some other stories. Ex-President John Agyekum Kufuor has advised you to be patient as they await the good fortunes of the NPP government. He urged all Ghanaians to be tolerant and peaceful with one another. These were contained in his Christmas message to the country.
Christmas being the day when to us the Savior of mankind was born, should be marked by all people in peace and in goodwill towards each other. So I use the occasion to wish all the people of Ghana everybody in this country a Merry Christmas and a joyous and prosperous New Year. Whatever has transpired before now, we should look on Christmas as the time to draw the line, so we look ahead afresh on basis of goodwill and with hope. We are a very young country. I believe the majority of our population can be classified as young or youthful. I would urge them to restrain themselves. I know now we are told we have unemployed graduates association. If even the graduates are unemployed, you can imagine those who haven't had the opportunity. What's happening to them? Life is quite tough. But I would urge them to be patient, because you cannot change the world with just a snap of the hand. No. What is important is that wherever you find yourself, try to be positively creative. You don't allow yourself to be tempted into bad ways, because you may destroy the chances of your future. So let's all live within the law and do whatever we can to sustain ourselves on the right side of the law. We are being ushered into better times, times where the nation would attract a lot of investments that would lead to creation of jobs, and that would also spread the wealth generally. It's not going to be just a few people, perhaps styled as capitalists, just grabbing everything and holding on to it. No, this government, I believe, is an open-minded government that is there for the people as a whole, and not just for some greedy few. So it's just a matter of patience, and in time, Ghana will be back on track.
Ex-President John Agyekum Kufuor there. In other news, the festive period is marked in different ways around the globe. It is mostly characterized by exchange of gifts and showing love to friends and family. But how are the less privileged in society celebrating the Yuletide? Jocelyn Wood has been finding out.
The slum is along the Spencers Road in Accra. It is home to more than 100 people, mostly students, aged between 18 to 35 years. The slum dwellers say, although their budgets are low, they are determined to make the day quite memorable, even in the absence of Christmas trees, decorations, cake, and all the goodies that come with the day. Christmas is characterized by lots of merrymaking and eating of sumptuous dishes. For people in this slum, obviously, they are not left out in this Christmas celebrations. For Gideon, a 25-year-old student, his birthday couldn't afford on any other day than Christmas.
We don't have enough money, but the little one that we have, we are managing it to celebrate. So we are all enjoying ourselves, as all my friends are with me. So I thank God for the day.
Irrespective of where you live, Christmas is incomplete without food. Here at the slum, Ramona, a 21-year-old cleaner, is busily preparing the evening meal for the family.
I'm just cooking it for my brothers around so that we will do some little get-together. We do it daily, but let me say today is somehow special.
Emmanuel, 25, also a student, is waiting with bated breath for the Christmas meal.
We are trying to prepare a banku with okra soup, alongside a stew with rice.
For others, it is time to bond with the family and also spend some time with old friends. Children in the slum are also not left out in the celebrations.
Well, I did banku and okra soup today. I don't know what you did, but I'm sure no matter what you did, it was a wonderful Christmas. Merry Christmas to all of you out there, especially to my people in Wa in the Upper West. Those of you at Kamahego and Logo, we're grateful for that on News at 10. Thanks so much with us and the team put together by Isaac Amekosu, Director Richard Bruce Lamptey. I'm grateful for your time. My name is Bright Nanava. Have a great evening and stay right here on TV3.